Here at Fordham was the associate head coach under Jeff Neubauer. He's in charge the rest of this season. Alongside Darwin Zook, I'm Andrew Bogish. Thanks so much for joining us. And Darwin, an already odd season thanks to COVID and everything else going on. Even odder for these Rams now with a coaching change mid-season.
Yeah, Andrew, you used the word shocking, and it really is shocking anytime a coach is fired mid-season like this. And certainly Jeff Neubauer had a good start to his career coaching at Fordham, but it's stalled over the last few years. There's no disguising that, and now Fordham trying to maybe rally around Coach Neubauer being gone and see what they can do without him.
Kyle Rose is open again. That three is off the back of the rim. And Marcus Weathers controls for the Dukes. We will obviously discuss Jeff Neubauer's departure throughout this one. We'll also hear, I had a chance last night to speak to Mike DePauli about taking over, about being a head coach for the first time for the rest of this season. So that conversation comes your way at halftime. This is the second meeting between these two. A 48-45 win for Duquesne in Pittsburgh back on the 9th. The game Fordham led late, and then a late Dukes push. 8 straight points at one point at Tavian Dunn-Martin 3 in the final moments to clinch it. And there is Dunn-Martin, the baseline jumper to get us going on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and he's one of the 3 seniors on this team in the starting lineup that is crucial for Duquesne, that really gets them going. And they underwent their own major changes this season as well. Duquesne losing 3 starters earlier in the season.
That's Chris Austin, Fordham's leading scorer, knocking down the 3. That Rams starting lineup the same as it has been, so no changes in Mike DePauli's first chance to create that starting 5. A tweak again in the starting 5 for Duquesne. Now, they had a new unit going because of the departures in season, and then they change off of that today. Mike Bakelja, a freshman, starting for the first time alongside Dunn-Martin, and then the 2 bigs, Weathers and Hughes, and that's the freshman. It's Baker knocking it down. And the Dukes have a 5-3 lead here early on. Toby O'Connie had been starting for Duquesne. He goes to the bench for this one to get Bakelja in. Just his 6th game of the year. Playing just under 6 minutes per game. Had a stress fracture. Kept him off the court for a while, but he's in the starting 5 today. That's him right now. Almost getting stripped by Kyle Rose. Strong to recover. It's Dunn-Martin hoisting. And Soriano rebounding for Fordham.
I'm curious to see, just as you said, Andrew, we'll talk about Jeff Neubauer's departure from this team, as the game goes on, but how Fordham reacts, how they play. They play loose. They see it as an opportunity. Maybe certain guys who weren't getting different opportunities offensively, now they have a chance to maybe show themselves a little bit more. That's always the case when you change coaches mid-season, and it's surprising in the middle of the season to do that, especially during the pandemic, but there's a reason behind it, and we'll see if it maybe ignites this Fordham team, especially offensively, where they've struggled so much this season, barely averaging 50 points a game.
Right on cue, Jalen Cobb has that jumper go almost down, comes out, but Bakelja off back rim. And that's last touch by Duquesne. It's Fordham basketball. So, on one hand, Jeff Neubauer leaving this job yesterday came out of nowhere. However, Jeff was in the final year of his contract, which is a rarity too. There was nothing past this year. And it was likely, certainly not guaranteed, that this divorce was going to happen whenever Fordham was done playing basketball this year. Way up in the air is Marcus Weathers to swat Austin's 3. So it was maybe somewhat inevitable. It happens now. You get a head start on looking around for a full-time replacement and see what this unit can do with under some slightly different leadership here over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and Andrew, we know at the D1 level, it's really a results-oriented business. At some point, you have to get wins as your tenure goes on, and they did at the beginning, as Navarro can't knock down that 3. Duquesne pushing the other way, but in this case, they really didn't improve as the years went on, and that was the issue under Coach Neubauer. And now Fordham looking to make a change and see if they can ignite something for the last month and a half of the season.
2 more for Chad Baker. Lefty finish through Joel Soriano. Fordham 1-7 this season, 61-104 in 5+ years with Jeff Neubauer in charge. Year 1 was the best with some of his own players, some holdovers from the previous regime. That club played in the CIT, first postseason appearance for the Rams since 1992, but that was the peak of the success. Another Fordham miss, another push from Dunmartin to scoop off the window, and the foul. And then Rose stepping back in the court, tangled with Dunmartin. The official was quick to sort that out.
Dunmartin plays with a lot of energy. You can tell even in the pregame warm-ups. He comes out there as the first guy out there for Duquesne. He plays hard, and he gets his team ignited, averaging 11 points per game. And really the catalyst, not just in terms of at the point of attack, but also could knock down the three-point shot as well. Knocked down 20 of those on the season. So he can play inside and out, and right there, not afraid to mix it up as well.
The free throw completes the three-point play. He was still talking to the official about that, and I get his point. I mean, Kyle Rose might not have meant to do anything, but stepping over the opponent is something you just shouldn't do.
Unless you're Allen Iverson in the NBA Finals.
And Rose's right foot got Dunmartin in the side of the head. Skip pass finds Navarro. It's Austin from straight on. He's got his second three early going to get Fordham within 4.
It's hard to say where would this team be without someone when you're 1-7 and struggling, but where would this team be without Chris Austin? He's been so huge for them, leads Fordham in scoring, and he's been their main guy at the offensive end. Other than Soriano inside, it's been Austin on the perimeter. He's really been it. Only other guy averaging in double figures is Soriano on the team.
Josh Navarro pushing. Here's Austin in transition. Takes a long two and has it rim out into the hands of big Michael Hughes. Dunmartin the other way again for the Dukes. Slowed by Navarro. It's a good matchup. Similar builds, similar skill sets, feisty, quick guards. And Baker, tried to but couldn't avoid the backcourt violation. Changes for both sides off the turnover after the timeout. 5 minutes in, the Dukes by 4 on ESPN+.
Pro Extra averaging just under 50 points per game. It's hard to win any game, no matter how well you play defensively, when you just can't put the ball in the basket. And Fordham has played that slow-down game, try and, shorten the game, run the shot clock down, but at some point you have to find ways to get some easy scores on the perimeter. They've had a hard time knocking down shots, shooting just 25% behind the arc, as you see Aisi now checking in the game for Soriano.
Also getting our first look at Austin Rotroff for Duquesne. That's him chasing Jalen Cobb out high. Toby O'Connor, who didn't start, came in quickly, defending Jalen Cobb. 10 to shoot for Chris Austin. Steps into the 2, and will go to the free throw line. Got undercut by O'Connor.
And that was a good call. I thought they were going to let that one go, but you have to let the jump shooter come down, have position to come down. And that time, Austin getting himself to the line, looking aggressive like he has all season. Take one more look there. Austin not having the opportunity to land. And that's a dangerous play, too, because you can really turn your ankle. We've seen it happen at all levels, as Austin now getting 2 shots at the line.
A lot of length on the floor right now for the Dukes. Tyson Acuff, a freshman from Detroit, is 6'4". Then Baker at 6'7". Weathers at 6'5" with muscle. O'Connor at 6'7". And then Rotroff at 6'10". As Darwin mentioned, Anya Aisi is in for the first time for Fordham, replacing Joel Soriano. Acuff for Rotroff. And now Acuff again, cut off on the baseline. Rotroff, Austin in the air, and it's a travel against the Duke big.
Well, when you're going up against a team that's playing a lot of bigs and has a lot of size on the interior, it's really important defensively that you really play not frantic, but that you really rotate quickly, that you play with a lot of active hands, active arms, move your feet, be aggressive defensively. Don't just sit back.
Jalen Cobb needs shots to go. That one's off front rim. Fordham stays down by 3. Cobb averaging only 6.5 points per game. Came in shooting 26% overall. 5 of 33 from 3. Off a Duquesne miss, it's Kyle Rose trying for a 3. Kept alive, but by committing a foul, it's Aisi. Over the back of Weathers.
Andrew, I like that, though, in transition by Fordham right there. A little more aggressive than we've seen at times this year. They got that secondary break where it's not just a throw down, fast break, and either finish or not. Instead, you hit the trailer, wide open three, instead of running 30 seconds of offense and you get a little bogged down. Why not sometimes come down, try and hit the trailer, take that open shot, try and get a little rhythm going offensively. Now, it didn't go down, as has been the Fordham problem all year, but at least they're getting different kinds of looks early on.
When these two met in Pittsburgh, the Rams started Soriano and Aisi to match up with Hughes and Weathers. Didn't do that today, but now those two bigs on the floor against Weathers and Rotroff. Offensive rebound, O'Connor. Shot clock reset to 20. Baker, who missed the shot, bounces for Weathers, running over Navarro. We play on. And the Dukes get a three off that. It's Acuff.
Navarro did a nice job moving his feet, getting in position right there, but I guess the referees thought it was a flop, so they let it go, and Duquesne taking advantage, knocking down the three.
Rams down by 6, shooting 2 of 11 to start, including 2 and 9 from downtown. Navarro gets the pressure. Little floater is short. Make it 2 of 12 now for Fordham. Driving, baseline! O'Connor rocks the rim.
Backboard still up.
Still up, but still shaken as well from this.
How about that? I guess that's how you finish, right, Andrew? The one-hand power dunk.
Mike DePauli calls the timeout with that dunk, getting Duquesne to kick off the strong finish, and you see his bench loving it in the background.
And that comes, too, from everyone running lanes and doing their job as well in order to create that opportunity on the wing where he could come in and flush it home. But, hey, Fordham is playing, or they were playing 4 guards on the floor. You got to hustle back. Can't allow that. Now we'll see Aisi and Soriano both on the floor here for Fordham, trying to match the size of Duquesne. Nice pass.
Aisi in the lane, bouncing for Soriano. Look at the Dukes converging, so it's out for Cobb. In and out again for Jalen Cobb. Ty Perry guarding Tyson Acuff out high into the corner. O'Connor got the sideline.
And you mentioned the struggles for Cobb on the season and in this game, and really it's been on the season for him and Perry, 2 juniors they really relied on. Fordham did coming into the season to score the ball. They came in 8 for 51 from downtown. 8 for 51, and these guys, we've seen them in the past. They can shoot the ball. It just hasn't happened so far this season, and that's been a real contributing factor to Fordham struggling to put the ball in the hoop, especially shooting threes.
Shot clock at 6 for Cobb around that high screen. And now Perry step on the same sideline, other side of the floor. First O'Connor, then him. And that sends us back to break. A little more than 8 minutes gone by in the Bronx on this Wednesday night. The Rams to their bench, down by 8 on ESPN+.
With the Home Depot app, you're...
Fordham parted ways here in year 6 in charge for Neubauer. And again, you'll hear an extended chat between myself and Coach DePauli coming up at halftime here from the Bronx. Rams have continued to struggle on offense this evening. It's been a season-long problem, getting fairly decent looks that just won't go down. For a while, that could be explained away to a certain extent by an extended time off the court in December because of COVID, but they've been playing for a month now, basically. Out of the corner, it is Hughes from downtown, pushing the lead to 11.
He's capable of knocking that down. It's not his game, but he can knock it down, as 5 made threes on the season. But Fordham with a great defensive possession right there. Just, you know, that's what happens. Sometimes people knock it down, even with a hand in the face. Fordham, meanwhile, not knocking down their open jumpers.
Soriano's got position down low, but the help defense denies that. Acuff steps around, finishes, and will go to the free throw line.
Defensive transition has been an issue for Fordham here, which is a little surprising in the first 10 minutes of the game. Take another look, the nice finish, getting the harm and able to put it off the glass nicely and finish it with the contact. And Fordham not getting back defensively a couple times. You saw that power dunk early on, the tomahawk slam, now an and one opportunity. Hey, if you're going up against a team like this that has size and quickness, you better hustle back and get into your half-court defense. So far, Fordham a little slow getting back in transition.
11 consecutive points now for Duquesne to open this one up by 14. Rams haven't scored in 4 minutes. 2 high screens for Rose. Perry comes to get and shoot and knock it down.
Boy, did they need that one. Perry in particular. Fordham stemming the tide a little bit there, that 11-0 run.
Now 3 for 15 shooting are the Rams. That ends the 11 consecutive points for Duquesne. Tavian Dunn-Martin's back in with O'Connor, Acuff, Hughes, and our first look at Andre Harris, number 30. That's an offensive foul on Toby O'Connor.
Rose moving his feet nicely that time, able to get in position. Both Rose and Navarro have done that a couple times. Have another look right there. Moving his feet, not reaching, just putting his chest in position, moving the feet, and able to get the offensive foul as Austin now comes back into the game.
Jalen Cobb can't move. That was a turnover, not a made hoop. Gives it right back to Duquesne. That's a rookie mistake from your very experienced junior guard.
And the experiment of Soriano and Aisi on the floor at the same time. Fordham now going away from that. Didn't seem to draw much offensively. They couldn't get really any position for them on the inside.
As they like to do, Fordham zone off the inbounds play. Dunn-Martin, nice feed in the middle, and Harris drops it in.
Duquesne using a lot of different lineups here, first 10 minutes or so of the game, shuffling people in and out, but they have a nice continuity offensively, and something that they haven't had a lot this season. They've struggled to score the ball as well. Like I said, second to last, just behind Fordham in terms of scoring in the A-10, but a lot better passing, especially on the interior.
Ty Perry almost walked. Chris Austin almost hit the three. Hughes got the rebound, got bumped from behind by Soriano. We've mentioned it, haven't given you the specifics, but this Duquesne roster, if you've seen them play Fordham the last couple of years here in the Bronx, there's no more Sincere Carey. He left the program early in January. He's going to Kent State right now, or on his way there. Lamar Norman Jr. also entered the portal, and Maceo Austin continues to be away from the team for personal reasons, plus injuries, and Duquesne has had a lot of guys on the floor at different times this year. They have gone way down their roster. Harris down the lane, couldn't hang and hit, and that's out of bounds. Should be off of Hughes. No, it stays down here with the Dukes. In fact, they've normally played so many guys, Darwin. Their last game against St. Bonaventure, the first time they used less than 10 players. They're at 9 already here tonight.
Yeah, and it's hard to find that identity when you lose 3 starters midway through the season. It's not like something you can plan for before the year. This is in the middle of the season, so you're trying to find something that works in terms of substitution pattern, but it's not easy to do when you're in the middle of conference play.
Nicely done by Kyle Rose, who he and Dunn-Martin were together early on. They got separated. Now Ty Perry's in here chirping. Andre Harris as well. Well, that's what started it. Rose got up with the basketball and gave it to Dunn-Martin, who was not involved in that sequence at all.
That was a nice gift.
And then everybody got to chirping. Ty Perry, who's kind of the policeman on this Fordham roster at times, came over to defend his teammate, was yelling at somebody through bodies.
Good job by the referees here. No harm, no foul there. Just a little bit of chirping. We've seen it a couple times, but it hasn't really gotten to the point of any real pushing or shoving, or certainly not any punches thrown. So move on. Intensity levels high, and I think Coach DePauli doesn't mind that. Good. Have some intensity in this game. First game with a new coach and kind of a whole new situation going on for the Rams, so it's okay to see a little bit of that energy, even if sometimes it's directed towards the other team in that way.
Was trying to hear our good friend Mike Watts announce the decisions there. Kyle Rose and Andre Harris get technical fouls for that exchange. Perry strong into the lane, doesn't get the roll, but gets free throws.
Yeah, it's been a tough season for Perry, and he's stayed aggressive and he works hard at the defensive end, but just offensively, he's had such a hard time really finding his offense coming into the game. 3 for 18 from downtown, averaging just 7 points a game, but so far in the early going, he's been a little bit more aggressive here in this one and able to find his stroke now with 4 points.
Perry didn't play 3 consecutive games, including the first meeting between these two. It kind of fallen out of the rotation, back in it as of late. Gets the 2 free throws, gets his team within 11 here as we get deeper into this first half in the Bronx. Mike Bacheljo started for the first time for Duquesne, back on the floor now. Dunn Martin's crossover got a foot. He's on the floor with 3 Rams around him. It's still loose.
Great hustle
from more than one player. Cobb at the end, though, that last slide took him over the far line.
That's what you like to see. Multiple bodies on the floor for both teams, getting after it. And Fordham down 11. They got a new coach. They're 1-7, but they're still playing hard. And that's not easy sometimes. No fans in the stands. You got to create your own energy. You see Coach DePauli getting his team still fired up and coaching hard over there. That's what you have to do. And the Rams so far at least responding hustle-wise.
Dunn Martin up against the shot clock. Then Soriano grazes front rim. It's Fordham basketball. And Coach DePauli was honest yesterday. He said when there's a change like this, teams can go in one of 2 directions. You can rally around it and push forward, or guys can think about themselves and you can splinter. And the job is to make that not happen. And he feels like he's got the group that won't happen to, but obviously that remains to be seen for the moment.
Yeah, and it comes down to the players on the floor. Coach DePauli can do all he can to try and rally them together, but has to be leadership on the floor from guys like this.
Perry's got the 3, 5 points in the last minute or so for him. And Fordham back within single digits now at 8.
Perry, a junior, he's a guy that can provide that leadership, and other teammates look up to him. And so far in the first half, he's really maybe played his best half of the season.
Dunn Martin gets low. It's Hughes. Denied by Soriano. Baker's got an open 3, and he knocks it down. And then a kiss to the sky from Chad Baker.
4th three-pointer of the game for Duquesne. 4 for 10. They come in just shooting just 28% from downtown.
Navarro was open, didn't shoot it. Tough catch for Perry. Numbers if they want it with Weathers against Rose, and Rose is going to get called for that foul with their feet tangled. And it sends us to a timeout here. You see what's left in this opening half, and you see Duquesne by 11 in the lead on the road on ESPN+.
An average, so he's already there with 7 minutes now remaining in the first half, and it's a really balanced scoring attack so far for the Dukes, getting several guys, no one over 7 points. He's leading the way right now, and that makes it harder to defend if you're Fordham when you don't know where the offense is coming from on the other side.
This is the 6th consecutive start for Baker. The number 1 in that stretch was the first meeting between these two. He's coming off a game where he missed 8 of 9 shots against St. Bonaventure. That has not been a concern yet this evening. Dunn Martin misses it all from downtown.
This is where you want to see Fordham maybe push a little bit, try and get an easy shot. Duquesne getting back, but Fordham into their offense.
Josh Navarro off the back of the rim into the hands of Marcus Weathers. Weathers and Hughes back on the floor for Duquesne with Baker, Dunn Martin, and Bacheljo. Weathers has the size advantage, takes the 2 instead, and he knocks it down over Cobb.
That's just recognizing the height advantage there. No chance as Weathers just rose up, able to knock it down, having a few inches on that one, plenty of room to get the shooting hand free.
And I thought he might try to back Cobb down, instead pulled the trigger from deep, and no problem with that. Tavian Dunn Martin called for that foul.
Just watching so far into the first 14 minutes here, we talked about how the team will be without Jeff Neubauer now and a whole new, really, regime here, the way they run things. And it'll take time for Coach DePauli in the course of the next month and a half to try and implement some of his own ideas. But defensively, I must say, Fordham really looks like they're struggling to contain Duquesne. And there's been some matchup issues, but, you know, those were the same matchup issues we saw in the first meeting. It was a 48-45 game, as you pointed out before, and Duquesne winning that one by 3, but Fordham's had a hard time here defensively, and Duquesne has created some matchup issues for the Rams as Navarro able to knock down a pair.
And as he did that, Joel Soriano went back to the bench. Anya Aisi came back in for Fordham. Rams defense and Duquesne missing shots certainly helped keep that game earlier this month in Pittsburgh close. Right now the Dukes are not missing like they did that day. Another knockdown. That's Acuff from deep.
It's contagious when one guy starts hitting. We saw Hughes hit that one from the corner. He's only made a few threes on the season and now starting to trickle down through the rest of the team here.
Acuff's got 9 points, jumping Baker for the team lead. Perry puts his head down, gets himself back to the free throw line.
Well, that's certainly a first half positive for Fordham, even though they trailed by 14. Just seeing Perry offensively able to get some rhythm and able to really find a way to get in double figures. As we take another look, Duquesne knocking down yet another 3, their 5th made 3 of the first half. Perry a chance to get in double figures here, Andrew, something he has had a hard time doing this season. Now 10 leading the way for Fordham.
His team down 12. Needs some stops here before intermission. It's low for Weathers. Nice feet along the baseline, but Perry from behind, the denial of Hughes. Last touch by the Rams.
And that is a season high for Perry. 7 was a season high coming into the game, so he already does have 10 in this one.
Weathers. I think the clock might have started a hair early before Weathers got the touch.
It is strange being able to hear everything in the gym these days. You could just what happened? Oh, let me just take off my headset for a second. You can hear it echoing through the entire gym.
So it's certainly good to hear the court, the game more, but we've also heard a few things that we wouldn't normally hear on the bad end of the spectrum if there was crowd noise drowning things out.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Ty Perry trying to stay hot. Swooping in for the miss was Hughes. Duke's up tempo. This is Baker. An offensive foul. Cobb and Navarro so skilled at drawing those. Cobb did it there. Empty trip for Duquesne. Now Fordham needs points on this end.
Yeah, Fordham can get this back in single digits here, as we've seen another charge picked up by Fordham. They have moved their feet defensively at times in this first half, which is Duquesne, like you said, able to knock down a lot of shots here. But Fordham can get this back in single digits. That would be really the goal and a success, considering Duquesne's played pretty well here in this first half, and it gives Fordham opportunity in the second half. But you don't want this to balloon out to, 15-16 going into halftime.
Another stop here by the officials.
The ball seems wet.
Okay. I was looking around to see what was going on. There was a shoelace being tied somewhere where this delay was coming from, but apparently the ball needed to be wiped off before. We're going to switch out here. We're going to go to a new ball. I haven't seen this yet this year. We're going to switch balls here. Now, the first time we came into the gym this year, for those of us who are not Tier 1 or Tier 2, who are getting tested regularly to be safe near the game, in the game, working the game, we're up top here at the Roseau Gym, away from all the action. We were told if a ball comes near you, don't touch it, because the untested of us, if we touch a ball, then that ball is out for a while.
Right.
But for whatever reason, that ball in the game needed a break, so we switch out. And we're back to the Dukes on offense, trying to build on a 12-point advantage. Dunn Martin, now Acuff. Lost the handle, but it finds Rotroff, who blows the layup.
He doesn't like the new ball.
Well, I'll tell you what, Darwin, I've been there often where I think Austin Rotroff was just. You get up in the air, you're thinking dunk. No, maybe I'll lay it in. No, maybe I'll dunk it. And the confusion leads to the miss. We've all done it. We've all been there. Under 4 left before the break. The Dukes on the road, leading by 12.
With the
A couple of unforeseen bumps in the road with the turnover in season, Darwin, but so far so good for Keith Dambrot in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think the conversation involving Coach Dambrot can be turned a little bit and talk about Coach Neubauer at the same time, because when you look at what Keith Dambrot did, he came into a team that won 10 games, right? Next year, they win 16 games. The next year, they win 19 games. Then they win 20 games. So you see that progression year after year, as opposed to what we saw at Fordham over the last few years. You saw an immediate boost to the program, and then you saw that stutter, that stall over the next several seasons. And really, when you're looking at a D1 program like this, you want to see that slow improvement under the new regime. And that's what Duquesne's been able to do under Coach Dambrot, and Fordham has really not been able to do on a steady, consistent basis over the last 4 or 5 years.
13 great years at Akron, and now in year 4 on the bluff. Akoff into the hands of Baker. Another rebound for the Dukes. They're dominating on the glass. Over Soriano and down for Hughes. 2 big men went chest to chest there, and Hughes won the battle.
And Hughes has really raised his game of late over the last couple games, averaging a double-double and really taking his game to another level here in the last couple games. You take another look there, and one opportunity now for Hughes. And he's a great shot blocker on the inside, a good passer, and can certainly finish as well and score around the rim.
The three-point play pushes the lead back to 14. That matches the largest of this first half for the Dukes. Cobb out of control there. I think he might have tripped or clipped feet with someone, threw him off balance. And then the bad miss. And now a foul down low. All Navarro could do to prevent an easy 2 from Weathers.
Yeah, Duquesne starting to assert their will here a little bit, especially on the inside. They're getting position, and Duquesne guards doing a good job of feeding their big men just as they come open. So many times we see a big man come open in the paint, and then it's not there anymore because you take too long to throw inside. That time, again, Duquesne doing a good job of getting that interior pass, and immediately Weathers looking to go to work, go up strong, draw the foul. Weathers, one of the 3 seniors in this starting lineup for Duquesne. He's been so important when you lose, like we said, the 2 key players to transfer, another key player out, personal reasons, Maceo Austin. So you really rely on Weathers and the seniors to come through for your team. And all those guys have really stepped up as Weathers, that one hanging on the rim and dropping through.
Everything going the Dukes' way right now, up by 16 late in this first half. Weathers, second team all-conference last season, preseason second team all-A-10 as this year began. Perry for Cobb, now it's Navarro, shot clock to 15. Hughes, the hands, denies the entry to Soriano. Weathers galloping to the front court, good hands by Cobb. Weathers has it back. Another chance at 3 for the Dukes. They're starting to pull away here late in the first half.
That was that layup or dunk you were talking about before. He chooses to go with the layup right there. Have another look. Just a simple finish on the inside using glass. And Fordham just looking overwhelmed here physically.
And all credit to Duquesne.
Yeah.
Walking into a weird situation for them as well, playing a team that had the surprising coaching change yesterday. No idea what you're going to get. But you have to figure that Fordham is fragile in this situation. Throw a haymaker early, it may land, you may end up in a complete control, and here they are up by 19 late in the first half.
Yeah, and they feel together as a unit. A lot of substitutions early on, back and forth, but they didn't really lose a lot of continuity there. Aisi thought he was fouled there, and Duquesne quickly backed the other way.
How about Hughes, the biggest guy on the floor for Duquesne, starting that break?
He can do a little bit of everything. Second on the team in assists.
Here he is on the post. No looks, Bakelja. Hughes on the offensive glass again. Extra pass. And this time, Bakelja gets it. 42-20. Duquesne storming through the Bronx.
They're creating their own noise over there. That's what you're supposed to do. The Duquesne bench up and rowdy.
This is the second time in this first half the Dukes had scored 11 consecutive points. This Fordham drought ends thanks to Aisi.
Aisi showing the left hand there and a little bit of a flex, although I might go easy on the flex considering how Hughes is going up against him the other way.
Bakelja's open again. 2 in a row from downtown.
Came in 0 for 2 on the season from three-point range, hadn't scored, and he's got 6.
Austin had to fall off the front of the rim. Dukes just keep pushing. Baker tries and gets the 3. A 26-point Duquesne lead.
Wow. How many points did they score in the first meeting? 48, Andrew? What are we at now? 48. How about that?
17-4 run for Duquesne. Austin splashes a 3 for Fordham.
Fordham looking demoralized defensively. You just look at the body language. Hands are not up. Not a lot of talking right now. Certainly a little bit of fatigue playing a factor, but this is where you got to buckle down. One stop left in the half.
Navarro waiting on Acuff. Hughes sets the screen. Acuff for 3. A rare miss for Duquesne. Navarro ends up on the court, helped up by Hughes. And the horn mercifully sounds for Fordham. What a kick into halftime by Duquesne. Red hot from downtown to Bakelja. That one from Baker. And the Dukes by 23 at intermission. Little bit. He's been around this program for more than a decade now under 2 different head coaches. Was the associate head coach at the time of the change yesterday, which is why he is in charge now. Dennis Felton, a longtime NCAA head coach, sits next to him on the bench. And Coach DePauli said yesterday certainly is going to lean on Coach Felton and Anthony Evans as well, who has been a head coach before, and Mike is not, to lean on them to figure all of this out. And I'll be honest, Darwin, this just an observation. I thought there might have been more energy, more pep from the Rams in this one today, but they still seem to be shell-shocked from the sudden turn of events yesterday here.
Yeah, it's they look flat. That's really the word in the first half. I think at times they played with a little bit of energy. They did get on the floor and draw a couple charges, but overall it's just kind of walking into a whirlwind here. You find out the news about your head coach, and then you're going against a Duquesne team that seemingly found themselves in their own way here at times, and the way they've manipulated lineups and their big men on the inside have been so aggressive. Fordham's just having a hard time keeping up. And for Coach DePauli, it's an opportunity for him the rest of the season. The expectations, of course, aren't going to be high. They're 1-7. They just lost their head coach, but this is a chance for him to maybe put a little bit of an imprint on this team, but it's not going to happen overnight. So this is a blowout now as another 3 goes in for Baker, but now we'll see how the Rams respond here in the last 18 minutes and then going into the next couple weeks as well.
And yesterday was sudden. Now, these players knew the bigger picture. Cobb thuds back rim, has it fall in. They knew the bigger picture. They knew that Jeff Neubauer didn't have a contract after this year. They knew what was likely going to happen at the end of this season. But they didn't know yesterday when they showed up here for practice that there was going to be a coaching change. Instead of walking in and putting their shorts on, and their sneakers, they were told to sit down. We got to tell you something, and they were told that their head coach is gone. And I don't even think that there was a chance for Jeff Neubauer to address the team yesterday. Mike DePauli told our friends over at WFUV one of the first things he said to the guys was, everyone needs to make sure that no matter how they see fit, they need to say goodbye and thank you to Coach Neubauer because they're all here because of him, whether they're on his staff or was recruited here by him. They all have to say thank you and goodbye, which they didn't get a chance to do in person yesterday.
Yeah, and it's just that feeling, too, where these aren't 20-year-old. They're young men, but they're also kids in a way. I mean, when I was 20 years old, if I was suddenly told when I was playing, even at the D3 level, oh, your coach, was let go or he's not here anymore, and it just was overnight. Not something that you could prepare in your head like, okay, at the end of the season, this could be coming, like you said, but to have it suddenly happen in a blink of an eye for someone who's 20 years old, 18 years old, that's not an easy thing to just turn the page suddenly and come out and play. Not trying to make excuses, but it's a hard thing. And Fordham right now has an opportunity to show some pride here in the second half, show what they're all about, and just come out and ball, as people say. Just come ball. Don't worry about all the X's and O's. Just go play hard at both ends of the floor and let the chips fall where they may.
Meanwhile, the last time Duquesne was down here on offense with another little mini exchange between players, that is something to certainly keep an eye on as this game continues and the score stays the way it is. Nicely done, the two bigs there. Weathers and Hughes combining for the two to push the lead back to 25 for Duquesne.
And you talk about Weathers and Hughes. I mean, those two guys Fordham can't match up. They have Soriano who can match up with one of them, but then Fordham plays four guards as Navarro blocked again on the inside there. Look out.
Hughes avoids Cobb and then blows the dunk, and he is shocked. You can't see the look on Michael Hughes' face right now, but mouth agape, hand over mouth when he put it off the back of the rim. He could not believe that he missed that dunk. And he's lucky with a 25-point lead that he can laugh about it.
Exactly right. If that was a 2-point game, you don't want to be making light of it. But when you're up by 25, I guess you can afford one of those, especially the way he's playing. And as you said, Andrew, look at his mouth right there. Mouth agape, just shocked.
He's flabbergasted. He can't believe that he missed it. Baker wants this foul on the other end. Ty Perry had a chuckle with the Fordham women's basketball team that's sitting along that baseline. That's why he's got the big smile on his face. Back to the free throw line. Perry, a good bright spot for the Rams today. His best game of the season, scoring-wise, up to 11 points now, one behind Chris Austin for the team lead. There is Stephanie Gately's crew. That's basically been the attendance, whether they're here or not, inside the Rose Hill Gym this season, because everybody else that's here is either working or playing the game somehow. They're the only ones, and Intermade Ed Cull, other four administrators obviously can make an appearance, but the bulk of the attendance this year inside Rose Hill has been either that team watching the men play or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to create your own energy. It's not easy because even when over the years Fordham's had some losing seasons, and we both attended here, as another three goes down from Weathers there. Lead ballooning to 27 for Duquesne. But as we've seen over the years, even during some losing seasons for Fordham, when we attended the school, the fans would show up and there'd be an energy in the Rose Hill Gym in this building. So, it's an intimate setting. And now to have no fans, it's noticeable, and it's hard for the players to create that energy sometimes, no question.
Before we leave Fordham women's basketball, a belated happy birthday to their head coach, Stephanie Gately. I believe she said she turned 24.
I thought she said 25.
Monday. It's in that area, okay. And it's a shockingly low number for a woman with so many wins in this place and in her career as well. So many accomplishments in so little time. Duquesne at the moment, and for a while now, in charge in the Bronx.
11. I mean, that's a number you don't want to see if you're Mike DePauli in his first game as a head coach, to have your team out rebounded by 20 here pretty much with 16 minutes left in the game. And again, this is Fordham. Fordham has an opportunity in the second half here to mix some lineups, try some different things, and just go out and play instead of always worrying about every little thing in say, a low-scoring game where every possession matters so much, and maybe you're a little tight, as we've seen this season from Perry and Cobb and some other players. Now you have opportunity to go and play. So we'll see if Fordham can maybe put a little spurt together and see what they run coming out of a timeout here, see what Mike DePauli wants from this team. Going high screen roll, Rose finding open man. I mean, that's what you want to see.
Line drive, 3 off the front of the rim for Perry. Duke's trying to run out here. Tavian Dunn-Martin has spent whatever time he's been off the floor with a very high-tech, almost laser tag-like belt around his lower back. Was wondering how much we would see him with the score the way it is. He's out there now doing that, a chance for 3.
Apparently it works. Keeps them loose during halftime. You have one of those in your car, right?
Oh, just in case. You never know when laser tag's going to break out.
Does it blink?
It does when I get shot, yeah.
Look at this finish. Really nicely done. He can really do it all. He can knock down threes, and I've been impressed, as I haven't seen a lot of him this year, his ability to really get inside and penetrate quite a bit. His assist-to-turnover ratio is basically even this year, and you want to see more 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover if you're a point guard. But he does a lot of things energy-wise for this team and really kind of galvanizes them. And as we saw in the first half, even getting in that little scrap with Rose, as now he goes to the bench.
2 seasons ago, he was the A-10 sixth man of the year.
Right, yeah.
And in this building, the Dukes rallied from an 18-point hole to win, and he was in the middle of that second-half surge. I think he had 10 points off the bench in the second half to lead their rally. And, his role is an interesting one when we go back to the idea of the turnover here in season, losing 3 starters. There were games where Dunn-Martin was coming off the bench again this year, and everybody wants to start. But him coming off the bench, playing the way he plays, with the energy, up-tempo, shooting from 3, getting to the rim, that's a nice weapon to have that a lot of schools don't have. And not that you lose something with him starting, but you do miss that spark off the bench when he's not there.
Yeah, you do, and I think Duquesne's now trying to find new guys off the bench because it's the next man up mentality. So Dunn-Martin comes into the starting lineup after those 2 players transferred, and then Austin's sitting out with personal reasons, so other guys have to step up. But what Dunn-Martin's been able to do is really make the transition pretty seamlessly into that starting lineup consistently, and Duquesne's kind of rallied around him because they had the big guys, right? They got Weathers and Hughes, and those guys keep getting better here as the season goes along. Now you have Dunn-Martin, the point guard, and you're trying to fill in those other couple spots. They've had freshmen, they've tried different guys, and Baker's been a guy who's just been sensational here, and he keeps playing like this. I mean, look out for Duquesne in the A-10 because you do have Weathers and Hughes that are experienced seniors, and then you put Baker into that mix with Dunn-Martin. They can compete with just about any team here in the Atlantic 10 going forward if they play like this.
Chad Baker was 1 of 9, missed all 6 threes he took over the weekend in a loss to St. Bonaventure. Today, he's got 17 points, 5 of 8 from downtown.
Amazing. Just what a little confidence will do when you see a couple go in and another one going up. And good.
It gets him his new career high. His 6th triple gives him 20. And he's loving it. Hopping up and down, yelping back on D. Duquesne by 34.
I mean, I love to see a bench guy sometimes get rolling like that because if you're a bench guy, sometimes you feel like you can be in that starting lineup or you feel like you should have more minutes. And to have that opportunity for him now to come out and kind of show what he can do as Rose knocks down the jumper, it's a good feeling for a guy like Baker because that can then carry over into more games as you start to feel that confidence level increase.
You were on it at halftime when Duquesne had 48 points in 20 minutes after 48 in 40 minutes the first time these two played. And now they're at 67 with 13 minutes to go. They're already over their season average now in this game.
That's remarkable. I mean, you don't want to take away from Duquesne. Fordham has looked a struggle at the defensive end, looked hapless at times, and just not really be able to find a rhythm with their rotations, which is usually such a staple of we've seen over the Rams over the years. Even when they've struggled offensively on the defensive end, the rotations have been on point. They're in where the position they're supposed to be in, but that really hasn't been the case today. But Duquesne's certainly taken advantage, and they've just overpowered them on the inside, as you see right there. They have the decisive rebounding edge, 3-1, and they've knocked down shots from the perimeter.
trying for their second offensive rebound in this sequence. And then finally, I think Kyle Rose is out of bounds, touching the basketball. Andre Harris doing all of that work down low. Got one offensive rebound, kept the second one alive. It's still Duquesne basketball here.
Yeah, it's hard to read too much into one game, Andrew. It takes on more meaning because what happened in the last couple days for this Fordham team. So you don't want to read too much into it, but certainly the energy level is not what we had expected to see the first game after Jeff Neubauer was let go.
And again, credit to Duquesne for the most part, very early on in this game, taking control of it and not giving Fordham any life.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, like you said, when a team's in a little bit of flux or unsure of themselves, the best way to kind of keep them down is to make plays like that, to be aggressive and start in the first 10 minutes and kind of keep them down. Pedal to the metal mentality, and that's certainly been the case with Duquesne here. And Fordham never had a chance really to get themselves into the game or any kind of
surge into halftime to blow this one open, and they have kept it going here in the second half, in particular from against Rhode Island in a really emotional game for him. He learned pregame that one of his good friends from high school had passed away, went out on the court and knocked down all 5 threes he took and scored 19 points with that heavy heart. Struggled in the last couple of games, and now tonight the 6 triples and the 20 points, helping his team have complete control of this one since late in the first half. Andre Harris in the paint. Michael Hughes on the offensive glass, but this time he's called for a foul.
Fordham going back to a zone on that possession, just trying to slow down Duquesne on the interior, basically, because they've just been overwhelmed. So at least when you go to a zone in that situation, you have a couple guys. Soriano can stay locked in the paint and have some rebounding position.
I think we had a little confusion here about whether or not we were going to a timeout. And after discussion, we are. 69-37, all Duquesne in the Bronx on ESPN+.
There's a great big beautiful.
And now will be front and center as the university begins looking across the country for their next basketball coach. And there obviously has been a lot of debate about what comes next, who would want this job, Darwin. It is certainly one of the tougher jobs in the country, but you and I have been around this program now from 1996 through early 2000s as students, and now all these years later still up here watching basketball games. And I don't want to speak for you, but I do think that there is the right situation of coach and players and administration that can get the job done here on the men's side basketball-wise. The women's program has had tremendous success under Stephanie Gately for the better part of a decade now, and I think that's also possible on the men's side if you find the right combination of people, which they have almost found at times here over the last
2.5 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, that's since we attended school here. They've gone through from Nick McCartrick to Bob Hill to Derek Wittenberg to Tom Pecora to Jeff Neubauer. I mean, it's been a lot of different coaches have come through this Fordham program, and there have been varying degrees of success. I remember going back to when Bob Hill, former NBA coach, was here. They had one year where they were very successful. They got over 500. They upset some teams on the road.
I think they had one good November, December, early January that year.
Yep.
With 7-1, a win at the Garden over St. John's.
Absolutely. I remember, back in the day, Jay Harris, Bevon Robin, and those players, there were some good teams back then, and it is possible to certainly recruit. You're here in New York. You have an opportunity to recruit in your own backyard and try and make that happen through camps and just being really connected to the community. And I think for the right coach, that opportunity, like you said, is there. It's not an easy place per se. This gym has been around a long time, and the facility's been upgraded. They've done a great job here, but it still is this is an older venue, no question about it. But like you said, the right opportunity for the right coach. This is an opportunity to certainly come in here and be successful and do that over a steady period of time and create sort of that recruiting class that goes into cycles where you just bring in more players and creating a culture. And sometimes it's hard to do that in the first year or two, but if you give the right coach some time, there's certainly opportunities for that here.
Yeah, Derek Wittenberg, I think, was doing exactly what you just laid out. That group that was Marcus Stout and Bryant Dunstan were trending, came in as freshmen, and their junior year, they made the Final Four of the A-10 tournament, and people were really geared up for that senior year for that group, and that year just went in the complete other direction, almost out of nowhere. Tom Pecora had something going as well. Eric Paschal was here as a freshman alongside some good players like Joe Chartouni and Christian Sengfelder and Antoine Anderson, and then Coach Pecora was let go. And some of those quality players, and Eric Paschal obviously went to Villanova, now is in the NBA, and some of the other players who stayed here then didn't play their full 4 years under Jeff Neubauer. And now we're in this rotation of players, which has not gotten the wins to keep Jeff here any longer than yesterday. And that is certainly, the task for whomever takes this job. It's a unique situation. There's no doubt about that. There are some built-in things you need to overcome. This gym is a wonderful place when it's full and the team is playing well, but it lacks most of the bells and whistles that 17, 18-year-old kids are going to want to see when they come on recruiting visits. But, Joel Soriano's a legit Atlantic 10 player in the middle of things right now for Fordham. And you put the right mix of players around him, and there's a decent team there. Yame Butler, the only freshman playing regular minutes this season for Fordham, the strong take. He's going to the free throw line.
I do think, too, and, this is off the cuff here, but when you look at the Atlantic 10 over the years, it's known sort of from a general point of view as obviously it's a major conference. As you take a look at the freshman Butler here trying to finish, getting himself to the line, but it's a defensive conference. It's a defensive-minded conference. It's always been that way in terms of the style of play. And I think Fordham, in the next direction they go in, obviously they've had some success under Jeff Neubauer being a defensive-minded team. Certainly when he came in here and preaching defense, but to see a little more up-tempo. Even though the school doesn't have all the bells and whistles maybe of other programs, you can create a type of program that makes players want to play the style when they come here, and to create maybe more of an up-tempo type game, more of an offensive style instead of kind of a bogged-down defense. If you want to get skilled offensive players to come from high school or prep schools and come here, they want to sometimes play at a higher level, show their athleticism, get up and down the floor, be aggressive, and not sort of play that half-court style. Now, that's just, maybe my opinion or philosophy of playing, but I think it also translates to the modern game a little bit more instead of playing games in the 40s and 50s. And that your personnel is affected by that, but over time, you recruit the type of player that is more offensive. Nice hustle here from Rose.
The steal, the give ahead to Perry. And then Harris reaching in prevents the easy layup. I mean, there's no doubt that whoever has this job going into next season has to find talent, wherever it comes from, whether it's true freshmen, whether it's grad transfers, whether it's a regular transfer, which obviously now is running rampant through college basketball. This program just needs an influx of talent. I think that there's a lot of good complementary players on this roster right now being asked to do more than maybe they're capable of doing every single game. Like, imagine if you had Jalen Cobb to be able to play like Tavian Dunn-Martin when Duquesne was at full strength. If Cobb was coming off the bench and giving you points and energy and defense, as opposed to having to be, when this year began, one of your top two leading scorers, I think that's a different dynamic for this club as well. So wherever you can find it, and then when you do find it, by the way, too, you got to develop the talent once it's here on campus.
Definitely, and create that culture. Wow.
Where do you get one of those guys?
Yeah. This guy is on fire. I thought he went to the bench and he was dancing and relaxing over there. Now he's back on the court and he's dancing again. He's knocking down threes and ones. Unreal.
7 threes through the contact there from Perry. Only extending his career high to 23 is Chad Baker. Baker's from Puerto Rico, but moved to New Jersey for his junior year of high school. So he is still relatively brand new to the States. finds himself at Duquesne and finds himself with these 23 points tonight.
Yeah, I saw him in the layup lines, too, before the game. He brings energy. He really does. Some of his teammates look at him, they have a little half grin on their
Maybe
face.
Too much energy
sometimes. They're like, dude, we still got 20 minutes till tip-off here. Let's slow it down a little bit. But, no, I mean, teams need that. It's great.
Baker playing a little D there, was trying to get the call. The last touch by him, not by Chris Alston. The Duquesne bench, Keith Dambrot, all of his assistants screaming out defensive instructions. They have not relaxed, despite this lead being over 20 now, going back into late first half.
That'll feel a little good there for Coach DePauli. He calls an out-of-bounds play. They execute it perfectly, and they knock down the jumper. Now, of course, doesn't affect the score in a big way in the game whatsoever, but that's just a nice execution as a head coach for the first time that you like to see from your team.
Baker trying to do something from inside the arc for a change. Instead, it's McKelja missing the three, run down by Weathers, and the save to Dunmartin. Another rebound, more second chance points maybe, but Baker misses the three. Kyle Rose has the triple for Fordham.
Interesting to see, Andrew, too, that Duquesne still has Weathers on the floor, Hughes playing minutes, Martin's still out there. They're not really resting their starters at this point of the game, and the reason for that is if you're trying to build something and get that rhythm going as another and one, you want to keep this energy that you see right now, the Duquesne bench all up. If you're Duquesne, you want to keep that energy going. They have some big games coming up, St. Joe's and then Dayton, which of course is always a tough one. In the A-10. So Duquesne playing about as good as you can play right now.
Dayton, who lost in this building to Fordham a couple of weeks ago, the only Ram win of the season, beat St. Louis last night in their return from their COVID pause.
With the Home Depot app,
Darwin is going on, basically 3 years of not playing a home game.
Because of the renovation going on at their home gym. They've been on buses, they've been traveling, so even when they have a technical home game, they've had to travel to other gyms in order to play those games. So they're kind of used to situations where they don't have a lot of, home crowds and all that. So it's even more impressive what Keith Dambrot's been able to do with this team over the last couple of years, getting 20 wins last year, and now this year dealing with 3 starters. And Coach Dambrot mentioned earlier in the season, he goes, yeah, I've never really had to deal with anything like this where you lose 3 starters midway through the season, 2 transferring. He was shocked himself that happened, but he's bounced back. The team has bounced back, and now they could be poised to make a run here in the Atlantic 10 in conference play here as we go into A-10 championship play later in the season.
Pardon my math, they're going on 2 years since their last home game was March of 2019, and Since then they have played their home games at Robert Morris, at PPG Paints Arena. There's I never get the letters correct. It's where the Pittsburgh Penguins play.
Close enough. And
they've also played, and this is where they played Fordham earlier this year at La Roche University in Pittsburgh as well.
PPG, you got it.
PPG.
Yep.
I don't know if there's an ampersand in there somewhere, PPNG, just PPG.
They played everywhere, no question. And it's hard to do because they've been on they've been on a bus 34 of their past 40 games traveling. Not an easy thing to do for a D1 program.
I did though see on their Twitter feed video of court installation, so they're getting close to the end of the renovations, and they'll have a home gym again soon.
That'll be a heck of a renovation. 2 years. That better look picture perfect by the time they're done. I'm sure it will.
Here we are with 6:40 to go in regulation, and Duquesne up by 31, on the verge of setting their new season high for points in this one. And for the most part, both teams still have their regular guys out there. The problem is Darwin kind of mentioned, for various reasons, there's not a ton of depth where you can take everybody that's of importance off the floor right now. There's a lot of guys dressed, but I think unavailable on both sides of this thing right now. The only Duquesne player that we haven't seen yet that almost came into the game, so I know he's technically available, is Amari Kelly, which would be 10 Dukes that have or could play in this one. We have not seen Ryan Murphy tonight.
And just get back to Fordham, too, Andrew. Austin at the line there knocking down a pair. He has 14. Just his consistency, too. He hit the big three in the lone 8-10 win of the season as he comes up with a steal and a finish. So it's nice to see him still playing hard. The sophomore still getting after it. And for the next coach that comes in, this is something we haven't talked about yet, is, you want to keep your good players. You don't want them to leave or to transfer. So for a guy like Austin and Soriano, sophomores, you want them sticking around this program and being part of the building blocks moving forward. You don't want to lose a guy like Austin.
They see Austin steal and dunk. They raise. Dunmartin's handled the give and the flush from Hughes. Duquesne by 29. And that question really is not for today. It's too soon to know, but anytime there's a coaching change, the guy you like leaves, the guy that comes in doesn't want you necessarily. There's going to be turnover. Now it's Withers on this end with the flush. Again, the give from Dunmartin.
It is a dunk fest at both ends.
It's Soriano through contact. I'm guessing we're not going to see a ton of defense in the final 5 minutes with this game long decided.
No, well, Fordham will hit their season high in points, I think. They haven't hit 60 yet this year, so they will get that in this contest.
I mean, and let that sink in, not to harp on the negative, but that's how much this team has struggled to put the ball in the basket this year. They have not scored 60 points yet in a game.
Yeah, 58's the high, yeah. And that is remarkable. I mean, it's hard to win games that way. I mean, that's what I said right off the top. It's just Jeff Neubauer could be the greatest defensive coach of all time. It doesn't matter if you don't put the ball in the hoop, if you don't have offensive weapons. It's almost impossible. Even team as another flush from Weathers. Even a team like Virginia, right, that's, won the national championship and obviously the best defensive team over the last 10 years probably in college basketball. They still have games they can score 70, 80 points. At the D1 level, you have to find ways to play where it's not always 40, 45 points you're scoring with a chance to win. It's got to be more than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's always kind of been my objection in general to the idea. I mean, clearly you need to play defense to win, right?
But it's a balance.
But when you have to, when you play that way, whatever sport it is, it could be football, you leave yourself no margin for error. If defense is by far and away your lone calling card, you need to be able sometimes to win a game in the 30s in the NFL or in the 80s in college hoops or in basketball, whatever it might be. And to his credit, I mean, there's no disputing the fact that Jeff Neubauer's calling card here in the Bronx has been defense. This team has consistently been ranked near the top of the Atlantic 10 and high in the national rankings as well. Now, today is certainly no example of that, but they have figured out a way to win games in his tenure that they had no business winning because they played elite level defense and then mixed in just enough offense to get the job done. If you kept this defense and had found more points over the last couple of years, they'd have a good number more wins than the 61 they had in his 5+ seasons here in the Bronx. Our final scheduled timeout hits in the Bronx with Duquesne running away from Fordham. The teams were a combined 7 of 47 from downtown. Duquesne had 48 points at halftime today. They have set their season high with these 86 points. Fordham is on pace to break its season high and maybe get to 60 points for the first time this season. 14 made threes for Duquesne, which is not their calling card. 54% shooting total for this one. Led by Baker's 23, 19 for Weathers, 13 for Hughes, 11 from Acuff. Rams still have their regulars out. Keith Dambrot has gone to his bench for these final 3+ minutes as Austin knocks down the three. Chris Austin quietly up to 19 points. Another good game for him. His breakout season continues.
Yep, Austin from Pasadena, California, had the big three that really was the only win this season for Fordham. It was 55-54 over Dayton, a shocking win at home, and it was a great atmosphere for the team to be able to just kind of enjoy that moment, because there's been few and far between this season. But Austin's been the catalyst for really whatever success Fordham has had this year, and at different times, even in some of these losses, they've made runs, and it's usually behind Austin leading the way. And again, he's a sophomore, a guy that Fordham really wants to keep in this program, along with the man who has the ball right now inside, Soriano.
Yame Butler grabs the miss. Soriano 9 points and 9 rebounds, looking for another double-double here in the final moments. Just more than 2 minutes to go here in a game that Duquesne has controlled since late first half. An impressive run into intermission, and they have not let Fordham back in this game at all. Navarro's 3 is off, and Toby Akani goes high for the rebound for Dayton. Okani had that phenomenal baseline jam back in the first half. That was the first real exclamation point for the Dukes. They've added a number of highlight reel dunks since then with this game at a doubt, but Okani gave them their first spark with that play.
Yeah, there's double-digit amount of dunks that we've seen in this game for sure.
But Kelja working hard against Navarro. Rotroff got it off. No, he did not. Shot clock violation against Duquesne.
The whole Duquesne bench wanted that to count. They want it reviewed, and they will review it.
I mean, they have to review it. It obviously is not going to affect the score. But look at this bench, excited that they're going to get another look at it. I actually thought he got it off live. It was a hair, I thought, just ahead of the horn, but we'll find out for good in a second.
I'm going to say it was slightly on his fingertip. So we shall see. I don't know if you want to make a friendly wager on this one.
You know what? Whoever wins gets our director, producer, David Bernard Santana. He gets to go home with David tonight. You'll be in charge
I've heard
of David.
enough in my ear during this game that I don't need to hear more of.
Hey, maybe the loser gets David. It should be the way this goes.
Just kidding. David does a tremendous job.
Well, Darwin's right, which means I'm wrong, so I guess I have to drive David home tonight. It was not a 3. It was just a hair late from Rotroff, so it remains 86-58 Duquesne. Jalen Cobb just begging for some shots to go down. Doing everything else. Rebounding, passing, defending. He's one of the A-10 leaders in assists and assist-to-turnover ratio. But he can't buy a hoop right now.
Yeah, and Jeff Neubauer, before he was let go, I remember talking to him a couple weeks ago, or he was talking to my partner Mike Watts before the game, and he was saying that that Cobb really does everything at the defensive end. He's such a hard worker, and you root so hard for the ball to go in for him at the offensive end, because he does do all the intangibles out on the floor, and he works his tail off. Just sometimes this season, it just hasn't gone his way in terms of knocking down shots.
Soriano misses the second free throw, but a lane violation. Jet Rosing, I believe, backed off the lane a little too early. Rosing is in, so is Jalen Cole-Williams, as Keith Dambrot gets to the very end of his bench here in the final 90 seconds or so.
A lane violation with 1:17. That's an interesting call right there.
Reviewing a 3 with a score like this, and then that.
Hey, you want to get everything right if you're the official.
Jalen Cole-Williams missed that 3. The bench wanted to erupt. Butler attacking for Fordham. Final minute now in the Bronx. This one lost all down a long time ago. A 25-10 run into halftime by Duquesne. And the Dukes have been having fun since. Look at that sideline as they try to get the end of their bench some points here. Noah Bono took that last shot. Here's Butler for 3 now. That's no good for him. Julian Dozier's on the floor for Fordham, the other freshman who has battled some knee tendonitis this year. Limited PT for him. This is Bono again, driving, blocked by Cobb in the final seconds.
They would hit 60 with a bucket here. That's 59 is the season high for Fordham.
And they get to 60 for the first time this season on the Cobb 3. And that'll do it for this one. Yesterday, It was the coaching change. Jeff Neubauer out. Mike DePauli takes over. He and Keith Dambrot share a word as the buzzer sounds in the Bronx. An impressive effort from the Dukes. Made the trip here to New York City, facing a team on the ropes, fragile.